Hi, I'm Angie Barger, and I just wanted to elaborate for a minute on what our upcoming Forest and Garden course is going to look like. So, it is an immersion course, a week-long residency that doesn't include housing for educators. And the reason that we do it this way is because it's a larger part of what we call the Tea Project. And the Tea Project is a standards-based immersion in nature, specifically in the plant world, where we bring perennial tea gardens into the school environment, and students then harvest from these plants so that they can have a tea corner and practice mindfulness practices in the classroom. It is not a prerequisite that you are a part of the Tea Project in order to participate in the Summer Forest and Garden Residency, but it might wet your whistle enough that you want to then enter into our fall and spring courses, which are offered virtually. So the reason we do it this way is so that we can reach anyone, anywhere, and then hopefully entice you to come to the in-person practical experience, which is the bread and butter of the Tea Project. Or it's also a standalone plant literacy course for educators. So what will a day look like? Ultimately, we arrive and we establish a hive mind with our cohort of 20 students is our limit. We then practice a mindfulness practice. So one of our main goals for the week is to immerse in a social emotional learning curriculum that's included in the whole Tea Project. We're going to be practicing that together in the morning and again at lunch and again momentarily at different points throughout the day so that we can learn what it feels like to move through the day in an embodied way as educators, and what it might feel like to be a student in an embodied presence also when learning those skills from our teacher. We will then move from that first hour into about a 3-hour plant walk or a nature immersion, focusing on our sensory integration, our sensory skills, but moving among the plants of the garden some days, the plants of the forest other days, the plants of the marshes another day. We're going to be on this incredible landscape in Central Vermont where the ecotones and the ecosystems vary widely, and we can, even if we're from British Columbia, we can learn about how to see through the lens of the herbalist, the botanist, and the naturalist in order to bring those skills back to be able to look through that lens in our own landscape. So that's what we're practicing here. We are going to be identifying the specific plants of our landscape that translate into herbs, which have herbal actions in the body, which we can then turn into practical experiences, which we'll be doing in the afternoon. But before I get to that, we'll have lunch. Lunch will be an experience where you can be social with each other or you can be immersed on the landscape. And during that time, you will have a nice long hour to just experience the out-breath of the day, which is really important in allowing all that information to settle in. And there will be a mindfulness practice that is offered to you. That is an individual mindfulness practice, which you can practice. Sometimes it will even be a mindful tea drinking practice where we'll all be offered the same kind of tea, and then we'll come back together to share our experience with that tea so we can begin to trust our innate structures inside of ourselves, because that is what we're going to be encouraging in our students, to trust ourselves and then afterwards check the literature and see what the scientific literature tells us, because this is how our indigenous ancestors got to know the land. And so there is somewhere inside of us that, if when acknowledged, can say, yes, I do know this and I do know how to understand the natural world around me as though it is an innate part of me. Along with that knowledge, we will then be exploring in a pretty small way, because it fits into this 40-hour week course, is colonialism and how to acknowledge our ancestors and the indigenous roots from which these teachings arose, because certainly all of this information did not come from a European and American descent. It came from the indigenous people of the land who knew about these plants, who were our ancestors, who are our ancestors, and who these plants predated. And because of that, this information has been carried along for millennia, and now it's our job to offer it to the students that we work with every day and to bring it into our own bodies. So in the afternoons, we're going to be immersing more into the science curriculum, which will be the potions class if we were at Hogwarts, right? It's going to be making teas, making foot baths, making salves, making herbal foods, and different things like this. Practicing safety, practicing ethical wildcrafting and harvesting, so that we are then sharing a relationship of reciprocity, respect, and acknowledgement with the plants, with ourselves and the students that we're working with. It's going to be really fun, it's going to be intensive, and my goal is that we all leave this place humbled by the potential for introducing students to the relationship with the plant world that is available to us, and also that we form a group of like-minded educators who can support each other as we integrate this into our teaching every day and our daily practices at our own schools as we disperse outward. So yeah, join us. I would just be tickled to bring a daily tea drinking mindfulness practice to you so that you can rest in that practice for 1 week's time this summer and see what it feels like to be a student who is held in that way, and decide if then you'd like to bring that back to the students who you work with every day in your school. For more information, please reach out and contact me through email or call me or text me. I'm happy to talk about this individually with you, and also link below to see the photo essay of what the tea project really is. I hope to meet you soon.